Hotel brothers and sisters, welcome to the Jahi and the Kev show. I am Jahi.
And I am Kev of the Jahi and Kev show.
Yeah, and we got some information for you today. In fact, this is a brand new YouTube channel. And our subject today is Black on the 4th of July. What you think about that, Brother Kev?
Black on the 4th of July. So what you're saying is, what I think you're saying is, Black people should have a different outlook on the 4th of July.
Oh, yes.
So if I called you up and I said, Jai, what you doing, man? I'm gonna throw some meat on the grill on this 4th of July weekend.
Right.
And have some beverages, bring you and the wife over and maybe the kids, and we could do some fireworks. What would your reaction be?
Well, I'm sorry, brother, but I don't celebrate that because that has nothing to do with me from a historical perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So explain that.
Well, I'm explaining that because if people realized and knew the context of the 4th of July, especially Blacks, they would not celebrate it. Number one, we were still enslaved. Our ancestors didn't celebrate the 4th of July. That's a European holiday that started July 4th, 1776, of Europeans who were the 13 original so-called colonies. They left Europe and came to the East Coast. That's what their Freedom Day consists of, not us.
Okay. So what would you say to a brother that's out there promoting those activities, saying that, well, I'm an American and I want to be accepted as an American. So when they say, like, in Rome, you do as Romans do.
Okay.
And what would you say to those brothers like
that?
I
would say to brothers like that, this has nothing to do with being accepted. This has to do with you choosing. There are many holidays that are all over the world, and each holiday is significant when it comes to one's culture. And that's something that other people should be excited about. But we should not be excited about it because it does not pertain to us. It has nothing to do with his Americanism. It's a choice that people make. And that's like, if you want to wear a red shirt and I want to wear a blue shirt, that doesn't mean that I don't care for you because you're wearing a different colored shirt. It's just that that's your choice. And I can accept you for what you do. But the problem with what I'm dealing with now with the 4th of July, the so-called 4th of July, is many people know that that is not anything that pertain to us, but yet they celebrate it religiously because of tradition. But whose tradition is it? It's not your tradition. So this is what we need to talk about, Brother Kevin.
Okay, we're going to get into that.
Why do we celebrate? When do we celebrate? How do we celebrate? Who celebrates it?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take the floaties off. I'm going to say that. That's going to be a term I'm going to use. We're going to get deep into this. Okay. A lot of people like to stay on the surface and they just say, well, we didn't have our freedom.
Right.
And, so why are we celebrating it? But I'm gonna get deeper. I think we're gonna get deep. We're gonna get deep. We're gonna take. We may even need scuba gear.
Yeah,
we're gonna get real.
You know what? And we may have to continue this because I know we're going to be coming on for those who are viewing. We're going to be aired every first and third Saturday. For right now, this is a pilot program. But on the first and the third Saturday at 1:00 Central Standard Time, tune in to the Jahi and Kev show for information that's going to help liberate the minds of those of us who really need to take it another notch up, like you just said, get deep into it. What the phone number here?
We have a call-in number for those that want to call in. You want to give your 2 cents. It's going to be 361-405-6111. And again, that's 361-405-6111. Put us on speed dial for every time you catch in. You're going to be like, now I'm Kev and that's Josh. So when y'all mad at Josh, you know what, bald dude with the beard, I'm tired of you, Well,
let me ask Kev a question because he fired. Y'all saw how he fired off at me right off the gates. He came at me, and that's cool. And this is why I like to do broadcasts with this brother, because this brother is an honest, open, intelligent, Afrocentric man, and he's not going to hold any punches. But I'm gonna fire back at Kev too because he asked me a question. I will ask you the same question. Why do you celebrate it, brother, or why don't you celebrate it?
Actually, I don't celebrate it.
Okay.
I don't celebrate it, just like I don't acknowledge the national anthem.
Okay.
For the same reasons, and all of that stuff is actually tied in together.
Okay.
So if someone called me and say, "Hey, man, I'm doing this for the 4th," and I'm like, "Well, I don't do the 4th."
Okay.
And if they ask me why, I'm gonna tell them because I'm a black man in America.
Okay.
And Now, I think it's for a different reason because I think I had that perspective that you gave.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is in our activism.
Okay.
You're an activist. I met you within the last year, I believe.
Right.
And we shown up at different events.
Right.
And we started doing things together.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to do as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Black people need to learn from the whole thing of it's not Freedom Day.
Okay. Okay.
It's Independence Day.
Okay.
And the thing is, okay, yeah, we didn't have our freedom.
Right.
And we didn't have any independence, but we still don't have any independence.
That's right.
So I look at the divide in America, me being Black, I acknowledge the things that I need to acknowledge, and I don't acknowledge what I don't need to acknowledge. But what I do look at with the 4th of July is it's an independence. This is something we should learn about. And if I'm allowed to elaborate on
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So if we look at the whole circumstances surrounding the 4th of July,
okay,
we had the colonies come here. Mm-hmm. We had the Europeans converge on the Americas.
Okay.
With Christopher Columbus so-called discovering America.
Right.
And what happened was the English, the Britain, the French, the Dutch, they all saw this new land and they converged on it with opportunities.
Yeah.
Resources, land. The colonizers, the difference between what England and what the French did, the English, if you look at England is a little island, mm-hmm. like having an apartment. Mm-hmm. The France is big. Spain is pretty big.
Okay.
As compared to England. The English came here to settle. They came here to stay. The rest of them came here for outposts, mm-hmm. to strip the resources.
Right.
So the colonizers came here for the land and the opportunities. Mm-hmm. They got rid of the indigenous people as best they could, exterminated them, and then they wanted to stay.
Okay.
So when they wanted to stay, they start coming up with resources. Mm-hmm. Agriculture. They said, man, the climate is nice here.
Right.
You know, we got land here. We got abundance of land. The climate, we could farm the land, and then we need workers. So of course, we came over here as slaves, and they got us to work the land. And if we look at the difference between what the French was doing, the Spaniards was doing, and what the English were doing, is they didn't migrate their people to Mexico. They didn't migrate their people to Brazil. They had people there to control it. The English, the colonies, they loved it here. They came up with their states. Mm-hmm. Influx of people kept coming. And what they did after a while with slavery, that gave them power. Mm-hmm. Now they were still under, they were the outpost of England, which means the French couldn't come in there and just jump on them because that's an act of war with England. Mm-hmm. So England was in control of them. They paid taxes like we do with our governments. But after a while, they got strong and they said, we could be our own country. Mm-hmm. We don't have to give you taxes on it made them, the colonies world power, economic power. That's what slavery did. So it's just like when your kid starts making money and they start making more money than you, mm-hmm. or just as much, they don't have to be paying hey, pay this light bill. They like, I'm gonna get my own apartment.
Right.
I pay my own light bill.
Right.
So they broke off from England with the mindset that we're superpower.
Right.
We don't need you. And they came up in the process, they were coming up with their own military. Mm-hmm. And then England got mad and said, nah, y'all not doing that. And then with the war ensued. But what they did on July the 4th, they signed the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Meaning we don't need y'all.
That's
we're
right.
being independent. They wasn't, it's not freedom. They had freedom. Mm-hmm. They were making their own laws over here, mm-hmm. doing their own thing. England wasn't controlling everything that they did. They had freedom, mm-hmm. but they didn't have independence.
Right.
So what they did was got independence.
Okay.
Declaration of Independence, not Freedom Day. We need to learn mm-hmm. that today we still don't have independence.
Right.
And if you have independence, that means you control your own destiny.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Good teaching, big brother. Good teaching. See, this is what this broadcast is all about. We want you to pick up that phone right now and call us at 361-405-6111. And you see how he eloquently stated his position on the 4th of, as he's wearing a shirt, the 4th of July. We want you all to call in, and then we're going to talk about if you celebrate it. talk to us about it. We're not going to blast you. We just want to know why you do it, because a lot of you do it. Okay. A lot of us do it. And if you don't do it, why don't you do it? Let's have some dialogue, because this Jahi and Kev show is for all of us to bring to the table what we need to help us, because we all are struggling right now when it comes to some of the things that we deal with mentally, psychologically, emotionally. And these holidays, Brother Kev, especially the 4th of July, this was a big deal growing up for me. It was huge because I knew no better.
The fireworks,
yeah,
as a kid, that's the main thing. It's like, man, you get to do firecrackers and all these things like that at night. You see all these, the fireworks going off. Then the family getting together, barbecuing.
Yeah,
but then see, I grew up we did do the Juneteenth.
Okay,
it was a big thing.
Okay.
And the whole city, or the part of the city that I came up in, we had a massive barbecue.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So we didn't do the fireworks, but see, if black people did that, and and to our kids, this is a bigger holiday for us as opposed to the 4th of July.
Right.
Then it would change our mindset.
So you're saying that the teaching aspect, it has, and I know in my family we did those things, but no one ever sat down and said, "This is why we do it," or "This is why we don't do it."
And that's the teaching part that's being left out.
Exactly. Same with Juneteenth, which is another broadcast, which we'll deal with. But the bottom line is, this is so true that we do things because of our upbringing sometimes. And then a lot of the older adults, we don't sit down and say, here's the significance of this day. Here's the impact of that day. And I think a lot of that is lost. And I know we like to fault people sometimes, but if you don't know, you don't know.
And I think that's the main thing. It'll tell me if a brother called me and say, "Man, we're gonna do this on the 4th." That lets me know what his mindset is. That basically lets me know. And I'm not gonna be like, man, I'm not gonna bash the brother. I don't do that. And this is the reasons I don't do that.
Well, we got a caller, Brother Kevin, and this we got Brother looks like it's Joe Sawyer. So we're gonna let Brother Joe Sawyer tell us what's on his mind. Here we go. Hey, Brother Joe, how you doing?
Today?
We're doing all right. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just a quick question. I don't know if you guys touched on this yet. I hope you will. First of all, it's a fantastic show. I'm really, really gaining information. But my question is, on the 4th of July and all holidays, why does it turn into a party fest, a dope party, an alcohol party, instead of sitting back, Googling information, or even just watching videos about what that topic was about? So if you brothers could expand on, why is everything so commercialized now to where everybody just wants to celebrate instead of actually doing research about that day and what people fought for?
Don't hang up, Brother Joe. So that's what you're dealing with now? Is that what you're noticing about this day all the time when it comes up what we do?
Yes. It's terrible that, like I said, and people, I think a lot of us, we've been doing this for a young age since we're kids, going to barbecues, and it's all been instilled in us. So I'm saying, why can't we separate partying and drinking or whatever, put that to the side, and let's learn about what our ancestors fought for, or who the people that they lost their lives. Let's learn about them, not just to meet up and party, because it totally changes the narrative of that holiday.
That's true. Okay, brother. Okay. Thank you. You're the first caller, brother. We sure appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get some more calls from other people as well. Brother Kevin, this is a good challenge. It really is. Why do we always liquor?
I think when we talk about what we do now, when you're saying we, you're talking about Americans, or you're talking about Black Americans?
Black Americans. You know what we do, and we have. That's what he's saying in the context of
because America does it. Okay. America celebrates. Okay. What we celebrate is American holidays. Okay. We're trying to celebrate the way the Americans do. Now, when you have a immigrant that comes to America, the thing that they do, they try to accept everything. They try to learn the history so they could, get their card, becoming a citizen, and they embrace all the holidays. What is this about? I mean, when I was overseas and I was in Germany in the military, I was learning about the German holidays. Oh, this is what y'all do on this day. What is it about? Okay, I'm gonna do it with you. And it didn't matter the history or the roots of it. Okay. Now, what America is selling is a lie. America is based on lies. So when we try to embrace America or say that I am American, many of us speak in those terms also about being Americans, and we try to do as Americans do, like they say, when you're in Rome, you do as Romans do. So I think we get into that mindset that This is what we're supposed to do on the 4th of July. Why? Why do we do fireworks on the 4th of July? Why does America do fireworks on the 4th of July? What's the significance of that signing? That's the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Right, right.
So I think and one more thing, we as Black people, we look for any reason to celebrate. I mean, not just to celebrate,
right,
but to get liquored up and have a good time, because and I think it goes back to how we are conditioned in this country, but also the things we go to. We need a reason to celebrate. We need a reason to numb the pain. And this is what we constantly are doing.
That's awesome, Kevin. Now, I want to chime in and agree with you and add something to it, but I'm going to give the number again, 361-405-6111. Let these phone lines be ringing off the hook, because this is a powerful discussion. But the brother asked a question that you answered, and I want to answer it as well. He said, why do we always bring liquor, dope? We buy new clothes. I was looking this up, brother, and it said that $9.9 billion is spent on the 4th of July. Last year, it was $7.7 billion. So it's going up by the national. These figures come from the National Retail Federation. So what I'm saying is, people, when it comes to us, when we're little children, we see these things happen and we take part in them. And we feel, many of us, that this is normalcy. We can say what we want to say on this broadcast about the teaching and the history and all that's true. But a lot of people, when we grow up, that's why you see older people, when you say, brother, you're too old to be doing this. And he doesn't care what you say, Kevin, because in his mind, now see, you're laughing, and I knew we were going to get down like this. You're laughing, but it's true. You can tell them the historical facts. You can show them. We can parse all the words and let them know this is really not for us. But because they've allowed this thing to take root in their heart, they will die doing this.
Right.
And that's a sad state. But again,
we look for reasons to celebrate. We look for reasons to party.
Okay. Is the brother still on the line? Okay. Because I see. Okay. We terminate this call. We're going to continue to ask to call the number. But brother Kevin, you are really hitting on some powerful points today.
Okay.
Because we really need to discuss this that way.
Okay. And that's why my whole thing was, it's independence. And like I said, we could learn from it. Now, we look at the European mindset when they also came here, and I'm talking about all of them, the French, the Belgium, the Dutch, Spanish. They came to strip the resources off the land. And they didn't care about what was happening to the land, just like today. If you look at the mindset, the people that were here, the indigenous people, they only took what they needed off of the land.
Okay.
And then when the European came, like if you say, okay, the indigenous people, they went out and they killed the bison. Well, we'll call it a buffalo. They killed the bison. They took the hide, used that. They took the meat, they used that. They used everything they needed. When the Europeans came here, they saw opportunity and it was a grab. So they would kill hundreds of bison, leave the meat there to rot. And it's almost like if you got a fruit tree in your backyard and you go out there, you got these beautiful apples or whatever, and the squirrel comes and he just bites off a piece, then he leaves, then he comes back, bites off of a whole different fruit, and bites off another one. Then you coming out there trying to pick your fruit, and you're like, man, all of these is eating. They're eating off of them. They only ate a little part of it, and they left. So I'm not going to eat after that. But that's how the European, they were pestilence. They were. So, and I think the mindset of what happened during that time when they came over here is very important for us to look at.
Right.
Who did what, and what we were doing in that time frame was fighting for freedom. So when they came up with the national anthem, Francis Scott Keys came up with that song. He said there would be no refuge for the slaves. So with Britain, when America was breaking away from Britain was like, they beckon us, slaves, hey, help us. Fight them while we fight them. Y'all fight from the inside. We'll free y'all. And so that was the thing that was happening then. And that's why I say, like, the national anthem, that's why many of us say, well, it's a racist song, because it said, y'all slaves, if y'all want to help them, y'all could try to help them, but y'all gonna die. And then if we beat them, then y'all still gonna be slaves. So it's no refuge.
Wow. There's another call, Brother Kevin. All right. So go ahead, caller. You're on the air. You're on the Jahi and Kev show. What's on your mind? 4th of July, being black on the 4th of July.
This is me again. I was still listening to the show. I heard you asking, was I still on the line? I was having technical difficulties.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Did you hear the answers that we gave to your question?
Yes, I did. I heard the answers. And I just have one more question, if you will, and I promise I'll hang up and let other people get on if they want to.
Okay.
As far as the it kind of ties along to the other things. As far as from the 4th of July, we sing a lot of songs as far as, especially on like celebrations of sporting events and stuff like that. The national anthem. If you guys could also expound on that too. Why do we sing those songs when we examine the lyrics? They're pretty demonic, and it's nothing to really be proud about. And then we're singing and we're crying, we're foaming at the mouth, we're getting emotional. And I just think that as Americans, we should also stop, singing as well that song, because it's not nothing to be bragging about.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the questions, brother. Beautiful questions. Yeah, I'll go for it, because I remember at a young age listening to tapes of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thought he was one of the greatest philosophers that I've ever heard, because he would always talk about what you inferred earlier about how we as a people, whatever we see Europeans do, we mimic them. And we're so messed up psychologically. And a lot of us don't take these kind of broadcasts to heart to say, well, I need to learn how to change, because you can't tell grown people what to do nowadays. They don't want to listen. Nobody wants to listen. But while us talking about standing up at a game, singing a song, that's a part of American culture, so most people say. But when it comes to us, based upon the fact that we want to belong, it's like we're stepchildren. We want to be loved. So we do everything that other people do, and we don't ask those questions. We don't even know what's in. There's more than one verse to that song,
Right.
And if you read the rest of those verses, they're deplorable, the words that they use. But because most of us don't give a damn. We don't care, Kevin. Right. We're going to do it anyway. So we can stand and sing and put our hand over our chest and take our hats off and shed tears on something like that, when I can't say it, but our ancestors were still enslaved July the 4th, 1776.
Right. Okay. Now, I think that you brought up a great point when you mentioned Elijah Muhammad and black people trying to do what white people do. And that's why I said what I said in the beginning. They didn't do the main thing that we should be doing is learning from the 4th of July. They declared their independence. When you could be independent of a lot of things that's oppressing you if you put your mindset to it. Mm-hmm. That's what the colonies did. They declared their independence. Mm-hmm. They came up, they had resources. Black people have resources. Mm-hmm. We don't put them together, and we don't do anything to help us in any goals as far as independence. We have our freedom, and we talk about freedom. Yeah, we got freedom. But what is freedom if it's no independence? If you tell me, Kevin, you're free to leave anytime you want, and I say, okay, I want to leave. Okay, when you tell me, well, I got to go unlock the door for you. Right. So you telling me I could leave, I could do what I want to do, but I still got to ask you. You control that. Right. Power is control. Right. You controlling where I do, what I do, and how I do it. Yes, sir. Then you still have the power. So we need to learn how they got their independence, what they did to get their independence. They got resources. They built up their resistance so that if England objected to it, okay, what you gonna do about it? Okay, what you want to fight? I'm good now. Right, we can fight. Right. And that's what I'm saying. We have to learn. We want independence. We still don't have any independence. It's right. So we're latching on to everything that they do, except the important things that they did. Wow. They got away. They got their independence. Okay. Black on the 4th of July is the subject. And boy, I tell you, this is a powerful broadcast. I can't stress it enough. And that's our subject. Call us up at 361-405-6111. And don't let the brother be the only one that call. Where are the other brothers and where are the other sisters? We're not begging for phone calls, but this subject is so serious that you would think we would get calls, because most of us either celebrate it or we don't. And if you don't, we need to know why. And if you do, why do you do it? And what the brother was saying also about us doing it at the games, and you, like you said, there's 3 verses. They adopted that. It was a poem by Francis Scott Keys during the war. I believe it was 1812 in the harbor over there in Baltimore or something. And they were at war with Great Britain at that time. And if we learn the history, then we'll know. A lot of us didn't know that it was three
Right,
verses,
right,
and they didn't know when we adopted it as a national anthem. It hasn't always been a national
right,
anthem.
right.
They saw that and said, "Man, let's use this."
Wow.
And nobody sings that song like we do.
Well, I thought
Marvin, I mean Marvin Gaye, Whitney, you could go down the line,
Yeah.
us singing that song, and I still look at these people singing at half times or beginning of fight, and we sing it like nobody else.
You must have got you some good rest last night, kid. You fired away. I've never seen you like this before. We got another caller, so we're gonna let the caller go in. But y'all better watch out. This brother's on fire today. Go ahead, caller. You're on the Jahi and Kev show. Being black on the 4th of July. What do you say?
Yes, I do not believe in that, but I was listening to you guys talking about the national anthem, and if people would just read the whole thing, not just the first verse that they sing, but the whole thing, because it's like we weren't free. Why are we celebrating? And if they read, especially the 4th verse, it says, "Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war desolation." So we weren't even free. Why do we do that? And what's so sad about it is that the so-called conscious people, they say they truly are conscious, they are sometimes the ones that celebrate the 4th of July because it's a tradition.
Wow.
And so if they understood and read the whole thing and understood what the 4th of July was all about, I would think more black people would just be away from it. But once again, we have that Negro mindset and that mentality that we are slaves, enslaved in the mind. So
that's true. Yeah.
People that's just my comment on it.
Okay.
And I appreciate you guys talking about this. Y'all doing a great job.
All right, Queen.
I appreciate you.
Wow, Kev.
Okay. Now the thing that let me interject on that. Us knowing if we were more informed that we'd do better, we put our hands over our heart and pledge allegiance to a flag of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And all the words that they had us reciting, we wasn't living that reality.
Right.
You know, one nation, under it wasn't us. We saw segregation. We were singing that. We was pledging that while segregation was going on. We was pledging allegiance to a flag that we was out in the street fighting against.
Wow.
In the 60s and things like that. We're still, so we had the knowledge of that.
Right.
But we still would stand up in class, put our hands over our heart, look at that flag and pledge.
Well, and the thing of it is here's some beautiful insight as well. The War of 1812, that was the second war against Great Britain and the colonies. The first war, of course, the July 4th, July 1775, the war went to 1781. But the second one is like, why did this man, Francis Scott Key, why did he write this thing? Well, he wrote it because the colonies were getting their you-know-what kicked.
Right.
And so if you look at the lyrics, he basically, when they pulled up in the harbor of Baltimore, as you eloquently stated, it was the colonies that were losing at that time. And so he wrote with a heavy heart because he thought this thing was over with. And then he gave hope about all the bombs bursting there. Those bombs were bursting because the colonies was getting their you-know-what kicked.
Right.
So because, like the Queen said, a lot of us, even if we know that this is not it, and a lot of us do, we're still going to do it. And Kevin, in some instances, we have to accept the fact that no matter how loud you and I talk on these microphones, no matter how much encouragement that we have to give, and we will give encouragement, some people, based upon what they have held dear to their heart, they're never going to get out of this thing.
They're chasing a dream.
Exactly.
They want it to be. They want it to be a dream. That's their dream for all the words in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then, Brother Kevin. And I really don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to let you continue. I want to ask you this. Well, what about the so-called Negro National Anthem? Do they know that song? Do they put their hand over their heart for that one?
Now, the education part that the first brother called in, and like the sister was stating, if we knew, because I came up in New York State.
Okay.
We did the Pledge of Allegiance, we did the National Anthem, and we did the Negro National Anthem.
Okay.
At our school. Now, I don't think that they did that all over the city.
Of course not.
But
right.
The public school that I went to, elementary school, they played the Negro National Anthem. So where it comes into the education part.
Okay.
But then what happened is, okay, what does it mean? Okay, you know, you look at the words of the Negro National Anthem. What does it actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are we achieving any of that?
Mm-hmm.
If we're not achieving it, that means that we're in a state of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
of course,
we're still in a state. We're free, but we're still being oppressed.
Right.
So I think we grasp into the freedom part, but we don't have. We're still being oppressed, and that should be our goal. Our dream should not. Or I put it like this: if our dream is to be treated equally, then you have to do what it takes to be treated equally.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think that's what the main thing is.
The number is 361-405-6111. Today's topic, being black on the 4th of July. Make these phone calls continue to come. Kevin, tell us a little bit about, you have a Facebook. What's that all about?
Well, this is the thing with me and Jahi, my brother Jahi Osaze. And I'm Kevin Lewis. And on the Kevin Lewis Facebook page, I have my own show. Okay. It's called The Blueprint. Okay. With a THA, The Blueprint. And you catch me on Sundays from 3 to 4 Central.
Okay.
And that's how me and this brother got together, because you have your own thing.
Yeah.
You're doing your own. So we're two people that have our own shows, and we said, man, let's do something together.
Yeah.
And tell them about your show.
Sure. The name of my show is called Adults Only, but you can send friend requests to Cry's Womb. And basically, I come on every Wednesday from 6 o'clock Central Standard Time until 7. And we talk about the various subjects that Kevin and I are talking about, because we really need to do more than just talk. Because this broadcast is going to be a little bit more unlimited in that we're not going to just be seen in this studio. We're going to go into the community. We're going to be challenging people. We're going to be at parks. We're going to be helping people. We're going to be doing all types of things that your politicians and many of your religious leaders, they won't do. So you should hurry up and subscribe to the Jahi and Kev show. Send this brother a friend request to the Blueprint. Send me one to Cry's Womb. And basically, we're going to show you that if we're going to ever be independent, if we're ever going to do the things that we're talking about now, it starts with us.
Right.
We got to quit waiting on other people to do things for us. And that's one of the issues that we're struggling with today. Everybody hides behind their cell phones. They don't want to watch these kinds of broadcasts, but they rather spend hours upon hours in an arena, or doing some listening to music or doing other things that's really basically dumbing them down. So the 4th of July is a subject that all of us have been affected by, whether we want to admit it or not. But the thing of it is the 4th of July is a day that we should all investigate in our hearts. And if you are doing it and you say, well, hey, I shouldn't do it, you have to realize when you don't do it, there's going to be flack from family members, from society, from the media, because that's something that's important to Europeans, and it should be. But it's not as important to us as other things about being independent, being free, supporting Black businesses, supporting some of the schools, the Black schools, talking about podcasts and broadcasts like this, that's going to lay everything out on the line, as opposed to just coming on, saying things, trying to get likes, trying to get, different hits. We're trying to make an impact from a psychological change, and we're wanting you to know that these truths that we're teaching, we want you to be able to apply them to your heart. These are not just words. We want you to not do that, because it's not for you. Right. Study up.
Okay. Let me say something else on that. I appreciate the comments. Y'all could friend me on Kevin Lewis to watch the Blueprint show. The thing is about the education part and seeing the verses of the song with the national anthem and learning the history of the 4th of July. Why are we celebrating? Some people, they will celebrate the Juneteenth and then turn around at the same time celebrating the 4th of July. That's just like a contradiction.
Wow.
So also you got to reflect on what we're saying, because it makes no sense for me to talk about the national anthem and us not being free, us not having our independence, and all of these things, and then say that some of the woke people out there, they celebrating this, but some of these so-called people that's pointing out woke people or pointing fingers, they sit up there and they be trying to tell you to run to the booths to vote.
Right.
It's the same thing. It hasn't done anything for us. Now, I'm not saying don't vote, but don't have that in your mind. Don't sell that dream that's going to cure our problem. Because the thing that we have in America And what I was talking about with the Europeans came over here, they was parasitic to the environment, to the ecosystem. They just fed off of it, and gave nothing back or didn't let it survive in the way that it was meant to survive. We should have a mutualism relationship with America. America is taken from our community. They take the talent from our community, like you were talking about the ball players and all this stuff like that. They take talent from our community. They take the intellectual minds of our community, bring them up in their system, and then they have a Negropean mindset.
Oh, boy.
Like I know when she said the Negro mindset, I call it Negropean mindset because you're looking like a Negro, but you have a European mindset behind you.
Wow.
So it has to be a mutualism. When they do something wrong that we don't like, they have to pay.
Oh, you're gonna
one
do
way
it.
or another.
You're gonna do. I'm gonna let this caller, please hang in. I'm gonna bring you in right quick. I just want to say one thing, and I promise you, Sister Teresa, I'm gonna bring you up next. So hang in there. You sound like you want to do a broadcast on the gatekeepers.
Okay. So what's the gatekeepers?
Black people who are in high fields that make a lot of money that does nothing for us. They take from us. They use us. They take our mind. These are European, Negropean, as you mentioned, who basically hold the gate to not let us get involved in what we should. So they keep us out. And these are some of your famous entertainers.
But some of them are ignorant. They don't like many of our politicians. They vote.
Yeah.
And that's ignorance. You sit up there selling ignorance because that's not going to solve our issues. If we have money, and we're not going to have independence unless we make people pay for the way they treat us and what's happening.
Sister Teresa, I'm going to let you on, but Kevin and I, when we do that broadcast, as you see now, we're going to go at it. That's what I like about this brother. He doesn't believe and agree everything what I say. Most of it is pretty good, but sometimes we have to depart. And like I said, I'm going to come back at him a whole lot, and he's going to come back at me a whole, and you're going to say, what a beautiful dialectical discussion. Two brothers who at any given time can tell you what they feel and believe and think, and yet everybody brings to the table. Okay, Teresa, I've been holding you off too long. Sister Teresa, tell us what's on your mind, being black on the 4th of July. Talk to us.
So my thought-provoking question for you guys is about the book 1619 Project, written by Hannah Nicole Jones. She talks about how her dad proudly raised up the United States flag, and she was a little bit embarrassed about it. Didn't understand why he felt the need to do that, based on all that he experienced. Growing up in a time of Jim Crow laws and all the different things that Black people were experiencing. And she talked about, as she started to understand him more, she said that her dad basically felt like our people contributed to the building of the richest and most powerful nation in the world.
Okay.
And that the United States simply would not exist without us.
Beautiful. Excellent point.
So what about those thoughts?
Okay, that's awesome, Sister Teresa. And I want to chime in with you because I want you guys to really understand what Brother Kevin and I are saying. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So based upon what you said, we know that to be truth. We know for a fact we have done more in this country as a people than any other person, any other people, any other so-called race. So we never deny the fact that we built this country. We're the ones who made this country one of the richest countries in the world. So we're not saying anything about us as people denigrating the country because of what we have done for the country. But what we are saying within the country, we have the right as individuals, when a holiday comes up, if that holiday doesn't pertain to us, we don't have to celebrate it. And that's basic. So what you're saying, that's the other side of the coin. Now we can do a broadcast on our contributions to the United States and all that. And we're all in agreement with that because we know that. So we're not saying that we should, as individuals, take this country and kick it to the curb. But we are saying, since we are citizens in this country, and based upon what has happened to us, and based upon our putting into this country, we don't want to ever forget the idea that when a holiday comes up, if it's not according to what we should be celebrating, we have the right not to do it. Has nothing to do with our citizenship, has nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that you're absolutely right. People should realize that we are United States citizens. In spite of what has happened to us, we did do all the things that it took to make this country great. So we never throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we definitely appreciate that. I know Brother Kevin going to chime in, but that's the topic. Black on the 4th of July. What you got, Kevin?
I appreciate that call. And the book, that's a powerful book, 1619 Project. And what was stated was how when she was younger, her dad, was put up the flag and everything. They're trying to be American. Now you got to look at the time. And I think at that time we had a belief that with our freedom and our opportunity that these people would treat us the way that they said they would. That's constitutionally.
Okay.
Freedom, justice, and equality. And if they saw the way that we were able to conduct ourselves, that they would stop hating us and treating us the way that they did. And some people never would let go of that. The same thing with the flag. It's the same thing with the poles.
Okay.
We got a belief. We believe in everything. And a father, I think, like being in the military, your whole thing with the flag, it means something to you. I have one of my good friends. He used to cry when they played America the Beautiful. I mean, he told me that. And now we laugh at that because then we sit back and we're looking at all the atrocities that continue to happen. And he calls me a lot of time like, man, did you see this? Did you? And he's sending me things at 4 a.m, like, bro, and I'm like, well, bro, this is the one, America the Beautiful. And but I think that we have that, many of us have that mindset that if we show them that we are deserving of respect and to show them that we love this country just like they do, that they would treat us in a different way. But they're parasitic with us. Right. No matter what we do, we join the military, we fight harder than everybody else. We sing that song harder than everybody else at halftime of games, and it doesn't change.
Wow. Teresa, you still there, Queen? You still there, Teresa? Okay.
So you got.
So, but yeah, that's an important aspect too, because I think we ought to do a broadcast, and we're going to, because there's so many subjects. That's what I like about the broadcast. We get calls, and the callers can dictate to us some of the information that we're going to share, because that's a question that we need to ascertain, which is, are you an American citizen or are you not?
We're second half citizens.
Yeah, and if you are, then let's look at what made you a citizen. And I think she's got a very valid point in that, like you mentioned, some of us, we bleed red, black, and green. And that's fine. But some of us, we know that although we are part of this country and we're a major part of this country, the part you're bringing out is, how does the country feel about you? And
I could be married to somebody and I could say, man, I love her.
Right.
And she could not love me at all. And be there using me for everything that I have and everything I can do. And that's what I was talking about, the parasitic relationship, because we're steadily giving. We're steadily dying on battlefields.
Wow.
We're steadily, singing songs with all our heart. We're doing all of these things. We're trying to get acceptance. And the thing that you have to do is go in inside.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. This is okay. Stop being. We're going to be mutual. It's going to be a mutualism. You taking from me, I'm taking from you.
Okay.
And if anything is not happening right, then I'm taking what I'm giving to you.
Right.
We have to have that closed ranks type mentality, and we don't have that because of as many things that's happened to us throughout this history. Many things that's happened to our leaders throughout our organizations. We still want to be embraced by this country, and this country has kicked us in the sack. They kicked us, stabbed us in the back, and everything like that. But we have to bring that to their attention. Like, we're not going to stand for this.
Well, Teresa's not down with us yet. Sister Teresa called back. Queen, you're back on the air. What's on your mind again?
Okay, so when y'all call in, turn your phone down.
Okay.
Once y'all start getting the call.
So I did want to let you guys know that as you guys started talking, the phone disconnected me.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, we did answer the question.
So I wanted to let you guys know that while y'all were answering my question or the statement, that the phone disconnected me after that. But what I really wanted you guys to know when I was putting that thought-provoking comment to you guys is that I feel like there are some of us that feel like we belong here. We're not going anywhere else. We fought for the country. We also built the country. And I kind of looked at the statement that Hannah Nicole Jones made about her dad being that meaning of this country is more ours than it is anybody else's. And for the record, I don't celebrate 4th of July. I don't get down with the national anthem. So I get it. But I think that when W.E. Du Bois and others met with Lincoln about freeing the slaves during the time of turmoil, Lincoln wanted to send us back to Africa. And we were like, we're not going anywhere. And that's the way I kind of look at that statement is to some black people, we have those that are ignorant, celebrate the holiday, don't know any better. And then we have others that say this country belongs to us.
Okay.
So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much for the call, Queen.
Okay, so that's a valid point.
Yeah.
It's different dynamics. The one thing about black people, I always tell people, we are not one group that thinks in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, we're very diverse.
Yeah.
We're at different levels of historical knowledge, and some of us will cry during the national anthem, and some of us will sing it with all our heart, with all the love.
Right.
This is our country, but this is not our government.
Okay. Yeah, she brought up some very valid and salient points. We're not one great big monolith. I think you're right in that as much as happened to us in this country as a people, you're going to get the different aspects and perspectives because a lot of us have just been through so much. I can't even express all of the turmoil that we've gone through in this country. And yet through it all, some people believe, hey, we paid our dues. So yes, this is our country in a sense. And then others say, well, no, it's not because of how we're being treated. So we will do a broadcast on that, you know, in the near future, and we'll be able to look at the different views and aspects, you know, and it's like, it's personal. It's really personal because some people will want to move to Africa. They want to move to other places and you're still going to be oppressed. Right. You know, you're still going to be oppressed, but that's your choice though. So the number again is 361-405-6111. This is a great first show. In fact, I want to repeat, this broadcast can be seen every first and third Saturday for right now. The first and third Saturday, mark your calendar of the month. So next Saturday we won't come on, but that following Saturday we'll come back on again. And that's basically what we're going to do at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. You're looking at the Jahi and Kev show. And I'm very impressed with the callers we've had today. I know we were talking off the air and we didn't know if we were going to get many. I'm very impressed with people who say, hey, I'm going to call in and just share. I think that's really, really engaging.
Yeah, become part of the conversation. Yeah. We're not just here to preach it to you and say, this is how I feel. And this is a community. What I see in my brother Jahi, I see an engineer of a village. You know, the village, the proverbial village that we need as in the black community. Now, I think that architects and engineers are needed for that village. It doesn't exist. And I don't think it really has existed in this country because anytime we built something, they were able to come and destroy it. And if you actually have a strong village, you have a strong fortress, and if they tried to do something, there'd be consequences. And this is what I'm getting at as far as we have to have that mindset that they're going to pay, you know, hey, you doing this, I'm going to stop doing what you need me to do. Right. Because the country, we built the country. Of course. Historically. But the government is not, that's not our government. Right. We have to realize that that's not our flag. You know, that flag has to show us that it cares about us before we start caring about that flag. That's how I see it.
That's the way it is. That's why they overturned affirmative action, which is another broadcast.
They keep showing us that the critical race theory, all these battlegrounds that's going on still today, and we're still embracing this. And it's not just it's just government as far as the people that's running the government. Right, this has been happening all along.
It has.
So we have to think and looking at things and say, okay, so how am I going to change? And that's the question I pose for you. How can we change things?
Well, I'm reading a book now by a brother by the name of Derek Bell. He's deceased now. But he has a book that he's written. It's called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. Right. That's one of the most eye-opening books, but yet it's profoundly simple because this is his premise. He says racism has always been a part of this country. 4th of July, whatever day you want to call it, it's all built on racism. And he says in his book, basically about a 500-page book, he's basically saying Why do we act the way we act when they do what they do? Because nothing has ever changed. And I think about that and I'm like, yeah, I get up in the air when something happens that shouldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. And he's saying, why? That's what they're going to do.
Right.
And so we have to take their pill.
When people talk about affirmative action, they say, you heard they did. I'm like, why are you surprised?
Yeah,
I'm not thinking, why did they do that? I'm thinking, why are you surprised that they did that? They've done that, things like this.
And my thing is, and also what you're saying is, okay, knowing that they're doing that, his challenge is to what we challenging everyone with. We have to do the things that we need to do for ourselves. Now, we maybe can't do everything, but we can start. And that's why with this broadcast, we're going to ask people to be a part of something that's community based, and that's where the rubber meets the road. See, talking, we all do it a dime a day all the time. But when we start getting volunteers to come out and cut grass for older women who can't get out and cut their yards, we're asking women to go into the homes of some of the elderly and help them because they need assistance. We're talking about men getting together and doing things that's important. We're talking about maybe getting a book and having everyone read a book like in a month or two, and then bringing that book to play and having a broadcast about the message. See, this is what we have to do, Brother Kevin. And I think a lot of times people want us to be superstars, but they don't want to do the work. But we're challenging people because the 4th of July is something that affects you. Watch and see. We spend when I say we, this country, black and white, $9.9 billion. You mean to tell me that that's something small? That's huge.
The thing is, America can afford to do that, but black people can't.
But we're doing it.
I know, but I'm saying, and I'm not talking about monetarily. We can't afford. We can't afford to have the mindset.
Well, do you got your new 4th of July outfit?
Well, that's what we can't afford that. We can't afford to have the mindsets that we've been having. For the last 100 or 200 years, we can't afford to be chasing dreams without any kind of plan to make our dreams come true, without setting a goal. We have to change our mindset, the education part of it. We're talking about being better educated. We're not going to be better educated sending our kids to the schools, the public schools. The teaching has to come from us. Everything that's independence.
That's true.
When the mindsets, you creating your own mindset of your own offspring, and letting them know what the 4th is about, letting them know what the national anthem is about, letting them know what the Pledge of Allegiance is about, or what it's not about. Then that's you creating your own offspring with a mindset instead of letting them continue to inflict a mindset on us. That's a destructive mindset for our people.
That's true. Please call us at 361-405-6111. You're listening to The Jahi, and you're looking at The Jahi and Kev Show. And we want to try to sneak in another call or two before we're done. We got about 8 minutes. You know us. If we have to go over a little bit, we will if it gets hot up in here. But the point that I want to add to what Brother Kevin just said is true. And that is, not only are we being bombarded by the educational system about the importance of getting into the so-called 4th of July, but the religious, especially within Christendom, and I don't care what a person believes. I'm not here to say whether you should believe this or that. What I am saying, when your faith tells you to do something, and yet in your faith doesn't tell you to honor who you are as a person, then that's problematic.
Right.
Because most of these religions, many of them, they teach you to be a so-called good American. But when you talk about being a good African who's been enslaved, whose ancestors have paved the way for us, they don't talk about that. They don't preach sermons like that.
That's the thing that I stress to people. Wherever you going and wherever you sitting in a temple, a synagogue, a mosque, a church, if they're not, the leadership of that is not addressing problems for our people, then they're detrimental to the problems that's happening.
Wait a minute, bro. Okay, wait a minute.
Well, I'm saying you should see the work. People used to tell me, what's the brother, Joel Osteen?
Okay.
But they'll tell me, some people used to, man, you ever heard? I say, man, he's a motivational speaker. I say, when has he addressed any issues happening in America with us?
And if he talks about the 4th of July, it's making those blacks in there approve of it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's motivational speaking. It's not addressing issues, because this country has many issues.
Right.
And I don't care. Like I say, I'm not just getting on that person, that religion. I'm talking about if they're not out there trying to get their hands dirty. It's a lot of dirt out there that needs to be.
If many of us who sat in these places if we were being properly taught since we were little children, I think we would have a different mindset, because we believe whatever that person tells us for the most part. If they tell us to go stick our head in the sand, for the most part, many of us, because of our upbringing, and this is all we know, we will do it. But these people are really a part of the gatekeepers that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, they're part of the. But see, they're a lot. Is the gatekeeper perspective on that. Some of them believe wholeheartedly in what they're telling us.
Yeah.
Because they've been educated that way.
Exactly.
Some people are out to deceive people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our grandparents, they were teaching us to do certain things in a certain way because that's how they were educated and that's what they believed.
Exactly.
So we have to distinguish and separate those things and understand that this person was telling me this, or this person is acting like this or believing in this because they're still brainwashed by the system. Mm-hmm. They got suds coming out of their ears. and we have to say, okay, yeah, I understand that. I understand why you're telling me to do this. Because you're actually in my mind, I'm not going to tell you that. I understand why you're telling me to go vote for this person, that person, and everything is all about this, candidate, because you don't know any better. But I know better.
Right.
So that's what I think we need to be able to look at.
I got you. The 4th of July, being black on the 4th of July. We wanted to ask a few more of you to call in because we're almost off the air, but this has been a very powerful, challenging, engaging broadcast. And we want to bring more of these types of broadcasts to you, because if we don't talk about what's pertinent, Brother Kevin, then we're going to have a group of people that are just wanderers. They're just wandering. And a lot of these places on broadcasts and shows and entertainment, they keep us so dumbed down that when we have a broadcast like this, many people find it challenging where they don't want to engage. But we have to be there for those who say, hey, I want to know more about this. I want to know more about what we must do to better our communities.
The thing is, so what do we get from the conversation? What is it that we need to do when I sit up and I take these headphones off and I close the mic off, or you stop looking at the show? What is it that what's the goal now? What are you getting from it?
Well, I'm getting that the 4th of July is a European-based holiday, and that many Europeans are going to celebrate it till they leave this earth, and that's their right. But if you are a person, black, African American, whatever we're calling ourselves these days, we should not take part in that because it has nothing to do with us. And if we do take part in something like that, then we have been duped, we've been deceived, and we've been brainwashed into thinking that that's something that we should engage in, when we are looking at, historically speaking, as you mentioned at the outset, and so did I, historically speaking, we were still enslaved, Brother Kevin. We shouldn't want to be. It's like, why would I drink poison? You're giving me poison. You're telling me, Jahi, here's something good to drink. And I know that it's poison, because most of these people that we're talking about, we don't need to teach them about the 4th of July. We really don't. They know that this, when you look at from a historical perspective, there's some that may be ignorant, but come on, for the most part. But they're going to do it anyway, Kevin, just like my family and your family, those who do it, regardless of what you say. So we shouldn't be engaging in it. But if that's what you want to do, to each his own. But I'm not. I just have no. I have no want. I have no desire.
Let me pose a question to you. Those, like, okay, the World War I veterans, the World War II veterans, the veterans of Afghanistan wars and Iraq. We have black soldiers that enlist, and some of us join military. We don't enlist to go to war. We enlist to get out of the circumstances that's in our community. Some of those people believe in everything they're doing. They believe in fighting for America. And you have people that are the grandkids of those soldiers that died for this country, like Teresa was stating in 1619. People that fought in this war, and they put the flag up, and they believe in the 4th of July. And some of those people that died, how is that going to affect their family members? Because some of them are the people that are the most patriotic. They say, my grandfather died for this country.
Yeah. Well, everybody's on a mission, Brother Kevin. And just like you and I haven't always been where we are today, it took our lives from childhood to now to come to where we are. But on that journey somewhere, we were open enough to say, let me investigate this and make decisions. And if people do not want to do that, in spite of how they feel about the country, again, that's something that each person has to decide in their heart. All we're saying is, to those who are open to saying, I want to look into this thing, I'm not going to be interested in it. If I find out that it's not for me, we're trying to serve them what needs to be served. And that's the truth. So we can't get everyone that's going to listen to this broadcast going to agree with us wholeheartedly, going to stop tomorrow. But the bottom line is, those who are interested in learning to change for the betterment of themselves when it comes to our history, our conscious, our culture, those are the ones that we reach.
Okay. And also, I want to submit to some of your people or listeners out there. We're not giving you answers out here. We're submitting how we feel to you. And I think that you need to ask yourself the question. So what now? What am I going to do now?
That's it.
Because all of us are not going to do the same things.
No.
So think about what you heard and how it pertains to you.
Right.
And what can you do? Even if you can't say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do it. You could support an organization or something, because the main thing that a couple of people was talking about was the education part.
Okay.
We have to get truth out, truth about what happened. However you feel about the truth that would happen, that happened, but we have to get that out, because what they're doing, they're suppressing that. They're lying to us about it.
That's true.
And if you're being lied to and you believe the lies, then you're going to act accordingly to that lie. You're going to be extra patriotic. You're going to sing that song like, with tears in your eyes and everything like that.
Right.
And not even know how foolish you look.
Right.
How foolish you look, because they talking about enslaving your ancestors and y'all not going to have any refuge.
Wow.
And you singing that song like it's the most important thing in your life.
Well, it's 2:00. I've opened up, and I'm gonna let the last words you hear be from Brother Kevin. Since I started this thing off, my last words to everyone is I don't necessarily care a whole lot about one's feelings. What I do care about is that the information that we gave was pertinent enough for you to say, if I do it, I'm going to look into it, and if I don't do it, I'm gonna stay on that track, because now those brothers kind of laid out the blueprint. The blueprint. That's a spill for your the blueprint as to when we don't do it. When people ask you, do you not celebrate the 4th of July? You can give them an intelligent answer as to why you don't. So I'm going to turn it over to Brother Kevin. And when he's done, we're out of here. Thank you for tuning in to the Jahi Kev Show.
All right. So I just want to leave y'all with this. Learn from the 4th of July. It's not Freedom Day. It's Independence Day. And if one thing you can get positive from that is that we have to gain our independence. We have not gained any independence. That don't mean separate. You could have kids coming up in your house and they could be independent. That means that they are not dependent on you for everything. You feel proud when your kids leave out and they got their own house, their own car, and they could do everything on their own and they still come see you. Y'all have a great relationship. But when you have that child that's constantly calling you for everything, or needing you for everything, or needing a place to stay, they are not independent. They are very dependent. And we have to look in the mirror as Black Americans and say, at our state that we are in, we are very dependent on those that have been wronging us for the longest. So change that, whatever it takes for us to be independent as a people, whether we have to have unity, we have to have community, we have to embrace our economic power and spending power with each other. And this gives us control. When you can control your destiny, that's power.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all showing up.
Great.
Wow.